So, I want to go ahead and get started. Um, this whole Colin Kaepernick situation has been pretty hilarious to me. For about every reason you can think of, right? I think that there are clearly people on the right who are overreacting by burning their Nike gear. Um, First of all, you're an idiot. If you burned your Nike gear after you bought it, you're an idiot. You didn't hurt Nike. In fact, what you did was really applied the same concept that Nike does to all of their commercials, which is take some controversial issue, put it on Front Street, and then rake in the big bucks because that's what Nike has always done. They've been rebellious since their existence. They were the ones who brought on Michael Jordan and convinced the NBA to stop wearing all white shoes. I think the first introduction of colored shoes were black and red, and they were from Michael Jordan. And they even signed Michael Jordan, obviously, who went on to have an illustrious career. When everybody else got rid of Tiger Woods, Gatorade, Sprite, pretty much anybody and everybody, Subway, Nike kept Tiger Woods. So, I mean, this is the same Nike, by the way, that came up with the whole "I'm not a role model" concept from Charles Barkley's commercial. I don't know if you all remember that, but he said, "I'm not a role model. It's not my job to be anybody's role model. It's my job to wreak havoc on the court." So I'm not about to give Nike undue credit for having their creative team sit down, put together a commercial that says you should be willing to sacrifice, you should be willing to sacrifice everything for your cause. Not because it's not a concept that I don't agree with. I do agree with the concept. I think a lot of us who are part of this movement represent that. However, it was a team that sat down, got their best marketers, their best messengers, their best consultants. They conducted surveys. They checked out how fans felt. They checked out what the backlash would be. They made a calculated move based off of risk assessment and cost benefit analysis. And they figured out that the Colin Kaepernick face behind a message such as that, because Colin Kaepernick did indeed sacrifice himself, and he sacrificed his career. For anyone who says he didn't sacrifice his career, by the way, you need to understand what sacrifice is. His entire identity has been quarterback bound for the NFL. And during the peak of his career, in his prime, the main source of income that he had counted on to provide for himself and all the charities that he belonged to in the future was tucked away from him, but not taken away from him. But not just the achievement of being the NFL quarterback that he worked towards being for so long, but also the very identity that he thought of himself as, and that embodied what he had worked for his entire life. That is indeed sacrificing everything, and it was for an altruistic reason, obviously, to protest police brutality. But we don't even have to get into that. We don't have to get into the back and forth about whether or not you agree with the kneeling, whether or not you disagree with the kneeling. What I have a problem with is everyone who's so concerned one way or the other about Nike. Because like myself, Tim Black, other progressive journalists, other progressive politicians like Bernie Sanders, people who have fought against the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, people who have been pro equity of labor. Make sure that whatever you're producing, you're getting paid an equitable amount for. People against the prison-industrial complex, people against lobbying. We have been telling you that you should have been burning your Nike stuff if you're going to be pissed off about something. You have to understand, people. This is why I don't put much stock in them putting Colin Kaepernick's face. I recognize inherently what Colin Kaepernick was initially sitting down for, and that was because police brutality, the criminal justice system in general, is completely and totally out of whack, and obviously it essentially hurts black communities. That's what it does, and in a lot of ways, some people believe that's what it was created to do. The way it currently exists, that's what it was created to do. If you're going to have a profiteering justice system, we have people who are inherently easier targets in a profiteering justice system, it is, of course, going to be discriminatory, and one group is going to be targeted more than others because they have the least amount of means to defend themselves. But when you have Colin Kaepernick as the face of that, you think that I'm just going to forget about the fact that you lobby in favor of the prison industrial complex because your shoes, your clothes, your items come from the slave labor of prisoners. And because you continue to lobby for private prisons, they're not going to fill the prisons with beautiful smiles and high hopes. They're going to make their best intentions to make good on your investment, to fill those prisons with people. So although Colin Kaepernick is indeed standing up towards injustice or for injustice towards black people, he's standing up against that. Unfortunately, he is inadvertently contributing to the very entities, or one of the very entities, that also contributes to those injustices of black people, because at the end of the day, cops do have their own prejudice, but they are financially incentivized. Police departments are financially incentivized, and justice departments are financially incentivized to treat a community, not just the black community, but poor white communities, like pretty much any community with people of color in them. They're incentivized financially to treat them a certain way because they get money for it. They get money from the state government. They get money from the federal government. The federal government gets lobbying money from these corporations to continue to facilitate the arrest of poor black people who end up in the prison industrial complex, and then whose labor is subsequently used to build these Nike shoes that everybody's about to go buy now. My problem is that nobody has been having this conversation. No one has been discussing this. And this is more important to me than any commercial that Colin Kaepernick could be in, any shoe that you're burning down, because Donald Trump decided to interject. You know what, Donald Trump, that's fine, but let's be very clear, people. This is all about his personal ego, because you're supposed to be the American president, right? You're like the Cowboys. Unfortunately, the irrationality of people loving you is very of how people feel about the Cowboys, but you're like America's president. That's how you're viewed. That's how you carry yourself. And that is what it is. It's a marketing scheme. But for you to come out and comment on how bad Nike is because they did a commercial about Colin Kaepernick who's fighting against the prison industrial complex, but not actually mention by name, by the way, the prison industrial complex, not talk about the fact that Nike actively lobbies to perpetuate the prison industrial complex, you are in fact just refortifying what people have said about you. You don't care about how black people are affected by the prison industrial complex or by the lobbyists who continue to fund that prison industrial complex. But let's talk about burning shoes. Or matter of fact, let's talk about the hyper right-wing Christian conservatives who think that burning shoes is supposed to do something to a multi-billion-dollar company whose shoes you already bought, and whose kids, if your kids play sports, it's a great probability that they're going to be wearing Nikes. My old high school, we had an exclusive contract with Nike. Most high schools either have exclusive contracts with Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So just because you think that Nike did this altruistically, there are other options. And guess what? Guess who also had ad campaigns waiting for Colin Kaepernick if Nike would have denied him? Nike just happened to sign him first, so they had first dibs at Colin Kaepernick's story. However, that wasn't the reason why they did it. They're always been controversial. They're always edgy because controversy sells. But for the right-wing hyper-Christian conservatives who are so concerned in burning their Nike shoes and their 20-year-old, you know how some white people just wear this, they've been wearing the same running shoes since 1999, and they're going to wear them until the soles fall off. They're burning those Nikes. Man, nobody care about them Nikes. Okay, so let's go ahead and clarify that. But you know what just happened last week, people? Do you know that Catholic priests got caught molesting children? In case you didn't know, Catholicism is a denomination of Christianity. I don't know if y'all know this. Read the same exact Bible, pray to the same Santa Maria, all that good stuff. It also has come to light that the Pope might have known about this. And the entire Catholic Church have been protecting them. The Vatican have been protecting all these people. Anybody burning any Bibles? Anybody forsaking God, forsaking Jesus, forsaking Saint Mary? Anybody? No. It's crazy to me, this fake outrage culture. And I'm waiting, people, because I just know that Mr. Ben Shapiro, aka BS, because pretty much everything that he stands for is BS. His initials just happen to be Ben Shapiro. But Mr. Ben Shapiro loves attacking outrage culture. He claimed this is exclusively something that the left participates in, and yet I haven't heard one single word from Ben Shapiro's mouth. Where you at, Ben Shapiro? What about Tommy Loren? Tommy Loren hates. Okay, he hates it. It infuriates her beyond belief. You're a bunch of snowflakes, and don't forget that this is the reason you get the kneel because blah, blah, blah. Go to Saudi Arabia if you don't want to. Okay. I'm waiting. Where's Tommy Loren? Where's Laura Ingraham on this outrage culture? Where's CRTV at? CRTV has a plethora of journalists who literally cover almost exclusively outrage culture and specific reasons as to why conservatives should be outraged by literally everything the left does. So let me get this straight. A picture of Colin Kaepernick gets released with a Nike check and a quote. I mean, the commercial came out today, but people started burning their Nike gear yesterday. But a picture gets released. People literally start burning their shit. A picture gets released. Check. With the Nike check, and that's a check. Check. A picture gets released. People literally start burning their shit. And no right-wing conservative who is just so adamantly against outrage culture, the Matt Christiansens of the world, the Ben Shapiros, the Laura Ingraham, the what's my guy, Tucker Carlson's, the Mike Cernovich's. Mike might have said something, I don't know. So the right isn't going to call out the right's own social justice warrior outrage culture-esque behavior that we are seeing from their fan base, because they're all worried about numbers, which is why I always say, be careful who you listen to, because if you agree with literally every single thing that person is saying, it is probably not healthy for you. They are not speaking for your to hopefully invoke your best interests. And to convince and to challenge the way you think about the world so that we can all move forward and grow together in a unified fashion. They're just trying to get paid. And therefore, they will tailor their message in whatever way they have to so they can continue to get paid. But I'm going to tell you like it is. Ben Shapiro's full of shit. Tommy Loren's full of shit. Matt Christianson's full of shit. Tucker Carlson's full of shit. Now, conversely, I'm still waiting to see TYT call out Nike for prison slave labor. I am even, as much as I respect Colin Kaepernick, and I do appreciate the attention that he's brought us to prison slave, and don't get it twisted. Now, Colin Kaepernick is the type of person who puts his money where his mouth is. He truly, truly does. And he invests so much money into fighting inequity with amongst people of color. But at the same time, Colin, I feel like you got to do your research. Now, I do know that you were likely under contract when you were when you first made it big and went to the Super Bowl, and so you are required to do a certain amount of commercials and endorsements and blah. I get all that, but at the same time, when it is said and done, I hope that you remain as bold when you call out Nike for the prison slave labor. When you call out, not because it's not just prison slave labor, they actually use slave labor in places like China. In fact, Stephon Marbury called them out, saying the Marburys and the most recent Jordan or the most recent Nike and signature shoe are created in the exact same factory in the exact same village in China. So the left is so like enamored with the celebrity, the celebrity worship aspect, because they're like, I respect and I love what Colin Kaepernick is standing up for, but they forget who's plastering his face on the cover. Nike is a multi-billion-dollar corporation and they need to be held accountable. What are they paying their workers? I guarantee if I go to Dolphin Mall right now to ask their employees what they're getting paid, I guarantee they will not tell me $15 an hour. We have just seen, people, a Labor Day where income inequality is the highest that we have seen it in history, bar none, not even close. Nike is one of the countries that primarily contributes towards that. Police brutality, the way black people are treated and people of color and poor people are treated by police in general, the ramping up of the prison industrial complex and the militarism of the police and the private prisons growing at an exponential rate. That's coming from Nike. Not exclusively Nike, like Adidas profits off of it too. I think the only one who does it may be Under Armour. I have to do some more research on that. But it's ridiculous. You have people burning Nikes, people talking about Nike disrespecting the soldiers. Like, you have, oh my God, on the left, Nike is so altruistic. Look at them being so bold and endorsing the cause. No, Nike implemented a marketing strategy that they put time and money into for months, analyzed the market, realized that there's actually a lot of money in progressivism when you just get down to the pure numbers, which is why so many people are investing in progressivism. That's the only reason I'm getting my own show. You think it's because the production company is altruistic and that they want to see our cause prevail? No, they're like, oh, look at that guy. He talks pretty well, and he's an activist, and progressivism is at the very least controversial, at the very most profitable when it is at peak controversy. And we get to say, as a company, we were on the right side of history whenever our number was called. So we might as well go ahead and get ahead of the game. That is why they did it. They wouldn't have done it if the risk outweighed the award. These companies have consultants that do cost-benefit analysis, and there was probably little to no risk involved when introducing this ad. And if you actually saw the commercial doesn't even really invoke the message that Colin Kaepernick was trying to invoke when he did initially sit down during the national anthem. It was a tailored ad to reach out to a certain demographic of young people to make money. That does not make Nike, and it doesn't absolve them from all of the negatives in society that they contribute to. So on the left, what the hell? These are not angels. On the right, stop being idiots and burning your Nikes. As far as the people are concerned, and as far as the pundits are concerned, bro, really? Y'all not gonna call this out? So let me see y'all do another damn video about outrage culture. Tommy Loren, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, CRTV, any of y'all idiots, Mike Cernovich. Nike did it because it's profitable, not because it's the right thing to do. Colin Kaepernick is still under contract with Nike as an endorsee, and therefore has a responsibility to Nike. Let's not forget that Ben Shapiro and these right-wing pundits will not talk about it because they can't make money off of it. They can't get views off of it. They're going to lose opinions if they're objective about how they approach the situation. The right or the left cannot spin this as a pro for the progressive movement if they don't call Nike what they are, which is a slave labor prison industrial complex lobbying company. There's no such thing as an innocent billionaire. Never forget that. Period. Stop looking for, stop watching these people looking for the spin that they can put on it. We need to start talking about things as they are. The Labor Day just passed, people, like I just said. And it was no coincidence, because when Labor Day comes, Bernie Sanders opens his mouth and you see who he goes after. He just introduced legislation going after Amazon, Walmart, U.S. Airways, go pretty much any major company, 500 employees or more, who are not paying their workers appropriately. And they know. So that's why they introduced this ad. They couldn't do it on Labor Day, but they damn sure picked a convenient day to release it. It would have been more controversial, in my opinion, probably more beneficial in some ways, marketing-wise, to release it on when's the first game? I think Thursday Night Football. I think the first game is Thursday, if not on Sunday, but I think it's Thursday. But they specifically and strategically introduced it after Labor Day so that their name is going to be associated when you Google. Their name is going to be associated. And also, they have political consultants who tell people. Notice they did this the day before Bernie Sanders introduces this legislation about issuing a 100% tax on companies who pretty much stifle their wages because they know that the federal government will offer assistance to compensate for what they don't want to pay. So for food assistance, daycare assistance, things like that. So Bernie Sanders introduces this legislation. He didn't write it overnight. He had been working on this. Ro Khanna had started introducing something like this in 2017, December 2017, if I recall. They have political consultants. Bernie Sanders introduces it this morning. Nike introduced their ad last night. So if I Google, I'm not joking, Nike Nike slave labor. Not even joking. So I got one with Nike is facing a new wave of anti-sweatshop protests, which is good, but unfortunately that's from 2017. And then a bunch of Colin Kaepernick shit. Because now when you Google Nike, that's what's going to come up. That was a calculated move. Like, let's not make it more than what it is. Let's not make it more than what it ain't. Right? So like I said, in case you're just tuning in, the right wing won't call the snowflakes out who are burning their gear, which is you're an idiot if you're doing that. Okay, you're going to buy Nike again. Like, you're going to. I'm sorry. And that's as lazy, in my opinion, as some of the people who are like, man, I don't want to come after the vegans, but if you're one of those vegans who are like hardcore, like just rude about it, like, I'm saving the planet by being a vegan, but you're not actually addressing the corporate farming that's the root of the animal like problem, like overconsumption, the capitalistic overconsumption of meat. That is the real issue. It's like Nike. You don't want to you're like, oh, let me burn this. Why? Because of Kaepernick. Well, why is Kaepernick protesting? That doesn't matter. No. Why is Kaepernick protesting though? If you really want to, because here's the thing, people. For me, as far as the Kaepernick debate is concerned, because I truly, at a instinctual, primal, reactionary level, understand both sides. From a logical perspective, I obviously align with Kaepernick's side because I'm a constitutionalist and he does have a right to protest, and I will not attack him for exercising his right to protest. Absolutely. As a black person who's been a victim of police brutality, cap on my tooth right there, my front left tooth has a cap on it for being jumped by 6 cops, being held down, and have my face beat in. So yes, police brutality is a thing. I've been called the scum of the earth by a police after he beat the hell out of me for not having an ID. I've gotten jumped in Burger King for trying to stop something from happening. The police were called on somebody else. They were called on 3 females. They came after me, arrested me, and arrested my friend who was the only other black person in the room because he told them to put their gun away. So I know that these things are real. And so what he is protesting for is the truth. But I understand that some people have been inherently victims of propaganda and the social contract that the flag automatically is representative of what soldiers fight for, or the soldiers. We have kind of been indoctrinated into that belief, and unfortunately it is not the fault of some people that is the only thing that they've ever known. Now, if you want to have that conversation with me about how you think that Colin Kaepernick is disrespecting the flag, you know how you can start that conversation off if you want to actually influence somebody to go, you know what? I actually agree with you. I do believe that black people are treated in an unequal, unfair manner. I do believe that it needs to be highlighted. I just don't personally feel comfortable with it being highlighted in this particular situation, because even though everybody else may not, some people may disagree with me, I personally, because of my background and the way that I've been raised, equate the flag with the efforts and the sacrifices of our troops. But I do acknowledge what Kaepernick is saying about the way black people are treated in America. Do you understand how much more productive that conversation would be versus America, the troops, because you're burning all this shit, right? You're burning all these shoes. You're burning these clothes, these sweatpants. But I know for a fact I have brothers and sisters in arms that are veterans who are living homeless on the street right now. Did you think about donating any of your stuff to them? Because at that point, it is beyond, keeping someone warm is beyond your petty capitalistic boycotts that are just based off of shallow vanity, because you think that that's what matters to Nike is if you burn their stuff. You just gave them free promo. People are like, oh, damn. I saw a video where somebody was burning one of the Nike shoes, and somebody said, yo, those Nike running shoes are tough though, man. Somebody drop a link so I can get. I'm bullshit you not. I was like, y'all out here giving Nike free promo on their running shoes now. But seriously, if you want to have a productive conversation, acknowledge what Colin Kaepernick was standing for. This is a separate conversation, but acknowledge, police brutality is real. Black people are inherently disproportionately affected because of the way our justice system is set up to be negatively affected by police officers, because of how we're portrayed, because of how we're historically portrayed, how we're portrayed still as being dangerous according to Hollywood. We can go into history of that, but I just don't personally feel comfortable. I'm not saying me, but somebody could say that, and I would understand. I don't personally feel comfortable with the national anthem being disrespected because of what it's supposed to represent, even though this is what most people view it as. Your conversation would be much more productive. Much more productive. But at the end of the day, as far as this Nike ad is concerned, if you're burning your shit, you're a snowflake. If you're on the left and you're praising Nike for doing what they always do, you're a hypocrite, because Nike uses prison slave labor to make these shoes, to make their clothes. For them to have Colin Kaepernick on the ad, people, for them, and I'm sure Colin Kaepernick knew this was going to get brought up, but it's going to get brought up anyway. To have Colin Kaepernick, who is supposed to be a poster child against police brutality, but he gonna be the poster child for a company who literally enables, and not only enables, but incentivizes police brutality and disproportionate treatment of black people by police officers to get them in private prisons so that they can continue to make Nike shoes. You can't support that. You can't support that. You can say the commercial was nice, and then you can move on. But somebody like myself is going to call Nike exactly what they are. But like at the same time, once again, you Christian, super Christian, conservative types, like priests are out there raping kids. Last week, this was all over the news. No outrage. Religion is dangerous. Look at all the problems that it's causing. No broad generalizations like that. No Bible burning. The Pope and the Vatican may have been covering up, according to the Pennsylvania Attorney General. But no outrage. Yeah, people were upset. They were like, whatever. But no outrage. Trump didn't even tweet about this, but he tweets about Nike. It's all propaganda. It's all mind control. And most of the people, except for the people who are clearly watching right now, are falling for it. And it's so sad to me. Well, if this is your first time watching us, I hope that you tune in again in the future, because this is the conversation that we need to have. It's nuanced. It's nuanced. It's not black or white, no pun intended, even though the picture was black and white. Most of the issues are separated, are segregated on a racial line, unfortunately. But it's not a black or white issue. That is a Hegelian dialectic, once again, prevailing on human minds that sometimes are too lazy to think like, I can like this one commercial but still call out Nike for what they are. And need to call, especially like I said, given the fact that it was just Labor Day, need to call out Nike for exactly what they are. You can praise Kaepernick, but once again critique him in this one instance, saying you should not be on the face of a company that literally thrives off of the prison industrial complex that you are trying to fight. But once again, for as far as that's concerned, I believe that was a contractual thing, because he is an endorsee. They have not released him, and therefore he does not want to be sued for not doing something. You can also acknowledge that Nike has done this forever. They did the controversial Charles Barkley commercial. Okay? The controversial Charles Barkley commercial that literally was Charles Barkley saying, "I'm not a role model. My job is to wreak havoc on the court." It wasn't one of the most controversial commercials in history. Nike kept Tiger Woods despite all his controversy. Why? Because controversy sells. These are calculated moves. They have business consultants, marketers. They know that there are clearly a segment of the world that is very progressive, especially in the youth, especially around the millennial age or the centennial age, that love edgy, progressive concepts like that. And they're people who are going to buy. And they pounced on an opportunity. Nothing more, nothing less. And finally, be careful who you watch.